All right, we're live. All right. So hi, everybody. Welcome to another live Facebook post. Today, I am with my good friend, Teresa, and we are going to talk about today how to survive the holidays when going through a divorce or even after your divorce. So what do you do in those hard times? Because they can be difficult and they can be stressful. They can be sad. There's a lot of different things going on when you're going through a divorce, and that can be with the kids or with the family, with personal boundaries, or even just for yourself, and even that self-care and things that you may need to do to take care of yourself and your mental state and your emotions in going through a divorce with the holidays. And so Teresa, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in the world, and give an introduction to everybody of you, and a little bit about your story.
Oh my goodness, you don't want to hear my story. No.
Of course we do.
So my name's Teresa Trigas-Pfeferle. I am a real estate broker. I'm a mother. I have 3 children. That's obviously my first and primary, why am I here in the world? And I also, I broker an office of 170 agents. I also list and sell real estate. And I additionally consult in real estate. I help people all over the country identify what their real estate objectives are, find 3 real estate agents for them, and help them interview them and choose who the right agent is. So I'm all versed in all things real estate. And a little bit about my story is I actually have been divorced twice. I got married young and had my first son by the time I was 20, and subsequently was getting divorced and remarried by the time I was 25, and had my second child. And then that went, not as expected. And my second husband ended up in prison for drunk driving. And so that was a very crazy, messy time in my life when not only were we going through divorce action and restraining orders and all things crazy divorce, but also a legal case for the drunk driving accident. So here I am 20 years later from all of it. And I'm a delegate on the National Association of Realtors Board of Directors. I serve at the state level and the local level, and real estate's been very good to me, and it helped me learn a lot about how the world works.
Right. Amazing. Thank you for telling us your story, Teresa. And as far as the divorce story goes, our story is very similar. And I think that we know that. We've talked about this several times, but for everybody watching for us, so I'm Siobhan Olivero, and I am an attorney, and I'm a divorce attorney. So I have several different aspects and angles to bring to our show today. I'm also a certified divorce coach, and I'm also a mother as well. And I went to law school as a single mom. I divorced my ex-husband when my son was 4. I also got married very young. So I got married at 20 and had a kid at 21, and bought a house at 22, and was getting divorced by 26, 25, 26 as well. And so yeah, and so went through, and then of course went to law school as a single mom, and then started my legal career, and then ultimately landed in the world of family law and divorce. I also do criminal defense, but for this aspect, in this case, it's family law and divorce, and certified divorce coaching. And now in our professional lives and in what we do in coaching and in helping people with their lives, now we help people get through those emotional times. I help them not only in the legal aspect of it, but in the emotional aspect of it from the coaching standpoint. And Teresa, I know it's a passion of yours to help people going through this aspect and getting through those emotional times. And so we talked, and we thought that we would bring a show to everybody and give you some tips and tricks or ideas or thoughts on how we survived it, and things that we've learned in the process of what you can do to survive if it's something that you're going through to get through the holidays with these. So So Teresa, let's start with you. So if somebody is going through, let's say they're currently going through a divorce, so they're in the middle of it, the paperwork's filed, or even maybe getting ready to file paperwork. So they're separated, right? And we've got the holidays this week. So Christmas is this week, right? And Christmas Eve. And we know that the pressure has come on with kids, right? So maybe they've got young kids or things are, they end. They're going to be struggling over the holidays with how do you split that time? What do you do? How do you handle the frustration and the emotional side of it? Some people may have been married a short time, but some people may have been married a very long time, and they've got those traditions that they do that are going to be different this year. So if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it's not only the emotions, but it's also staying in a calm state of mind and not reacting to a situation, because as many of us know who've have gone through divorce, my observation is that the more that you care, the more that you loved the person, the more that you loved your life, the more difficult it is, and how much more prone it is to drama during the separation process, right? During the changing of the family unit process. And that sometimes rears its ugly head with, you were supposed to be here at 3 o'clock to pick him up and you didn't show up till 4 o'clock. Or what do you mean you're not done? I have plans too. And I need my kid, right? And then it becomes this like tug of war where you're fighting over timing and custody and traditions. Who's gonna go the day after Thanksgiving and pick out the Christmas tree because that was our family tradition, and all of those things are really valid and really sad and really painful, and sometimes still for the better. So I find that when I look back, for me, one of my greatest survival tools was surrounding myself with people that I felt were my tribe. That whether they were my physical family, my biological family or not, I created new things and new experiences when I didn't have my children. So what that looked like was, maybe for Thanksgiving, I didn't go see my parents, but I went to a friend's house and had a completely new experience. Or I can recall one Christmas, I was alone. And so I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to sit around all day. And I went to, being that I physically live in New Jersey, close to the border of Pennsylvania, that's where Washington crossed the Delaware. And so they have a reenactment every year, a full-blown thing. And I've always said I wanted to go, but the children's traditions had taken precedent. And so I found myself alone and thought, you know what? I'm going to go to the reenactment and I'm going to spend some time alone. I've always wanted to see what it was like. And so I did that and drove around and stopped and said hello to a couple of different people and family members and friends that I normally wouldn't see, and really just took like a breath and chose not to be sad and chose to look at it like a bit of an adventure.
I think that's a great way to look at it. And I also think it's important to say that, like, obviously, as we're talking about these things and we're going through how we managed or tips that we did, it wasn't easy, right? So choosing to look at it like an adventure wasn't necessarily something that we did overnight.
Right? No, it was like, either you have to choose, it was like literally that, or I'm going to be under a blanket on the sofa with a glass of wine all day.
Right. And so, and it's, sometimes you have to really work to get yourself to that decision. And I think it was the same for me as I was going through mine and dealing with kind of the same thing as you're talking about, the traditions of what do you do now? And, who do you who does your kids get to spend time with? Who gets Christmas Eve and who gets Christmas? And, from the legal standpoint, from the lawyer standpoint here in Florida, what we do most of the time And the custody aspect of it is that they alternate. One year you get Christmas Eve, the next year you get Christmas, and then the next year you get Christmas Eve and the other party gets Christmas. But that doesn't work for everybody. And I will tell you, for my own personal divorce, although that's the way that our paperwork is labeled, was that we would alternate the years, and one year I would get Christmas Eve and the next year he would get Christmas, and then vice versa the following year. It never worked out that way, ever. And for the first couple of years and the first few times that happened, it was really frustrating, because, you know, it was supposed to be my year to have Christmas, right? And, you know, and we were supposed to have Christmas Day. And, you know, suddenly, you know, a week before Christmas, I get a text message of, you know, I need you to take Christmas Eve and not Christmas because, you know, I have to work, or I only get Christmas Day off from work, and, you know, and I have to work Christmas Eve, or, you know, whatever, you know, from the place that his dad worked. And ultimately that was really frustrating. And I figured out through, after several years, that I don't think he was actually ever requesting, you know, the alternate day off. It's just, you just kind of went with it from that point. But, and for me, it was the same thing. It was choosing then, like you said, that you chose to consider it an adventure on those years that you didn't have your kids. And for me, it was choosing to really just reframe it, right? Get in a whole different mindset and a whole different emotional set to go, you know what, I don't care which day, because it's not about a day for me, right? It's not whether I have him Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. For me, it's about that I get him, that I get time with him and with my family. And and when we talk about those traditions now, is it's like, you know, what do you do? Because you had all these traditions before, and we just started creating new traditions, right? So now my son and I have a tradition, and my family now has a new tradition. And Teresa and I were just talking about this offline as we were talking about things that we might discuss and go through. And so since it started to be that my family did every Christmas Eve, because the other party didn't necessarily care that we were supposed to alternate years, that's just what we started to do. We just started to say, fine, we're going to do Christmas Eve. And now my son's 20 years old, right? And as we're talking about, what are we doing this year? Are we doing Christmas Eve? Are we doing Christmas Day? You know, because now we can do whichever day we choose, because he can go wherever he wants to go. And my family went, it's Christmas Eve is our tradition now. Like, that started when my son was 4 years old. Let's just do Christmas Eve. We love it. It's about the time that we got together, and not about which day of the week it is. And so, and Thanksgiving was the same for us. So my family actually does 3 full days of Thanksgiving. We do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so when my ex-husband and I divorced, it just became the tradition then for now my family and for my son and I, that I don't even see him on Thanksgiving. Like, Thanksgiving to me isn't Thursday. Thanksgiving to me is actually Saturday of that week. And so that's the day that my son and I get together and do the whole family thing, and you know, with my extended family and our extended family, and choose to do Thanksgiving. And so it's, you know, it's tough, and it's going to be something that you got to get through. But, you know, I think trying to get into that mindset and out of that, and like you said, you that not reacting, and that's something that I coach people on a lot, is that we don't react to life, but that we respond to life, because it's a whole different emotion and a whole different mindset when you respond and not react. And being able to try to work through, and like you said, getting that tribe around you of people that can also help you with that, right? Not that tribe of people that's like, it's so wrong, I can't believe this is this the way or that way, but that supportive tribe that can help you get into those right emotions and those right mindsets of, you know what, it's really about the time that you get to spend, not about what day it is.
Well, I was going to say, when you were talking about that, like, what
Mhm.
was important to you about the time you had on Christmas? It was the moment you were creating,
Right.
right? It wasn't that it was on December 25th.
Right.
So we just, to your point of reassigning meaning, right? Like, you reassign the meaning of, it doesn't matter if I look back in 25 years, if all of my holiday memories were on the 25th, the 24th, or the 26th, as long as I had the holiday memories.
Right.
And sometimes that struggle, like that friction over, this is my time, this is your time, is just a way to keep the fight. You know what I mean?
A way
So,
to keep the
like,
control. Absolutely.
yeah. So if you just kind of say, whatever, I'll deal with it. You know what I mean? And you just roll. The more you can roll, the better off you are.
Right.
However, I do understand the need for boundaries. You know what I mean? Like, I get
Yeah.
that, right? But I look back on that time that was forced, really, my survival mechanism was, I'm going to recreate who I am, and I'm going to recreate memories.
Mm-hmm.
And my recreating those memories was having a team, having my tribe. And it wasn't to have them, to your point, to say, he's so wrong and you're so right. I didn't want to spend another ounce of energy fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to spend my energy on, what do I want my future to look like?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really just to have people, to have, like, because losing the extended family, losing my in-laws, was just as painful as losing my ex-husband.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes more painful, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because now they're not my family now.
Mm-hmm.
And over time was able to still foster a connection because of, my son. But yeah, so it was really, I look back and I'm grateful for that time, because
Mm-hmm.
it helps me be who I am today.
Yeah. Amazing. And you talked about, you hit on something else. You said boundaries, that it's important to have boundaries. And I think that's important for us to talk about when we're trying to help people get through divorce in the holidays, is those boundaries, those personal boundaries, and setting the boundaries. Because if you're in the throes of it right now, if you're in the pre or the middle of divorce, there's still potentially a whole lot of emotions going on there. And there might be some stress going on of being around family, if it's a stressful time for you to be around family. So you've got that heightened emotion going on. Or maybe there's alcohol or some drinking that you're doing, being around family to have a good time. And of course, alcohol can drop our inhibitions a little bit. And if you're like me, I get a lot more talkative. I mean, it's crazy, right? That, I get more talkative. I get more talkative when I drink, but I do. And so, I think setting personal boundaries and dealing with the ex or the soon to be ex over the holidays is important. So one of the tips that I know that I give people is to minimize the conversation as much as you can, the verbal communication and the verbal conversation, especially if you have a tendency to consistently be confrontational with each other or getting into those fights, or they can set off your triggers or you can set off theirs, whether intentional or not. So minimizing the verbal conversation, and that if you do need to talk about the kids or the exchange or whatever, that you do it in writing, either by the parenting apps or by text message or by email, to try to minimize that. And
I found like that became a really easy weakness
mm-hmm.
around the holidays and around alcohol and around, like, feeling lonely at times, to get sucked back into a bad situation.
Yeah, it's so easy to go there when you're dealing with that. So definitely having those boundaries in place, but you can't just have them and not express them, right? So the other key to that is that I'm going to have this boundary in place and I need it to be respected, and telling that to the other person so that they know your boundary, and that you can express that to them, and hopefully they will,
That looks like
yeah.
this, right, Siobhan? I need you to know that over the next 2 weeks, I can't take any phone communication,
Mm-hmm.
because I need to stay calm over the holiday.
Right.
So what I'm asking you to do is email me only, unless
Right.
it's a complete 911 emergency.
Right. And so what do you do though if the other person doesn't respect that boundary? Right. So now you've asked me to only give you, text or emailed communication. But what if I'm calling you consistently? What if I'm not respecting that boundary? Then what do you do? Huh?
But you don't have to answer the phone.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to answer the phone, right? And I've done that, right? That was a boundary that I put in place for myself a lot of times, was we need to only be communicating and writing by text. And so if it's not an emergency, then it needs to be by text or by email, however it needs to come. And I would stay strict to my boundary. I wouldn't answer the phone, and I would reply back in a text. please text me. Is this an emergency? Yes or no? If not, please text me.
So you were better than I was. I got sucked into,
Yeah.
I would go into reaction mode. Took me years to master that.
Yeah. And then, but I think as you enforce that, then it starts to become the norm. Then there's no choice but to respect the boundary because you've enforced the boundary. And
now on the other side of it, so all these years later, my son is 26, my oldest, and I was going to ask you what your situation was like now, but for me, you know, I I feel like I'm able to say I love my ex-husband because he's my son's father.
mm-hmm.
And if we needed to be with each other for an event or a holiday because there was some kind of collaboration, we could do that.
Yeah.
But it took a long, there was a long road to get to that.
Yes, definitely. It was a long road to get to that. And it's the same. So my son's father and I, my ex-husband, we're amicable at this point. We can go to, events together or do things. I'm still I'm still close to certain members of his family, and I've talked to them on things, and in other areas on some things. And yeah, we're able to do that. We're able to be together in the same room and be amicable and to get along and to do the things that we need to do for our son and to be there together. Now, outside of doing events together, like when my son graduated high school, obviously we were all there together. And but aside from that, because he's 20, there's not really anything that we need to talk about outside of that most of the time. So it's not like, so I'm not going to say that we're friends to the extent that we text or call or talk or do anything like that, because we don't. It's only about things that are about our son. And at this point that he's 20, there's not a whole lot that we need to discuss or talk about since he's 20 years old now. But yeah, we can certainly be in the same room. And well, for us, I will say it's been that way even since my situation is generally different, I think, just in general than most, is because I am the one who initiated the divorce and I'm the one who left. So for me, I didn't have a whole lot of emotion attached into my divorce because I was already done. And so I'm the one that walked away. And I was very firm when I initiated the divorce. And I told my ex-husband very firmly from the start, I don't care how angry you are at me. I don't care how upset you are. I don't care how much you hate me. You can call me every name in the book whenever our son is not with you. But when it comes to our son, as far as he's going to see, we are the best of friends. You are going to swallow your pride and swallow your emotions just like I'm going to do. And he is only going to see us getting together and being amicable and getting along. And we have, since the day I left him, we have done his birthday parties together almost every single year. I mean, like I said, he always had Thanksgiving and I did Friday and Saturday. And then, we worked out the holidays. And it's not to say that, we didn't, when my son wasn't around, that, trust me, there were some phone calls that were some blow up screaming matches over, what are you doing? This is supposed to be my year. And what are you doing? This was, whatever, those things, until after, a few years of that, me just going, I don't care which day it is anymore. I don't care if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I just care that I get time with my son. And that's what's important to me. Yeah. So, and then it became so much better, right? The stress of just letting all of that go, right? The no longer having that stress of that fighting and that contention and just that, oh my God, I'm so frustrated. And why can't he just understand that it's supposed to be my year? And once I let all that go, it was like, oh my God, it's so freeing, and I think freeing even to the extent that, like, I enjoyed that time with my family and with my son even more, right? Because even if somebody else brought up, if somebody in my family brought up, like, I can't believe we have to do Christmas Eve again because of this. And it was just me going, what does it matter? The day doesn't matter. What matters is that we're together and we're making these memories and we're spending this time together. And even then being able to get my family to see that now our tradition is Christmas Eve, that now even when he's 20, we're like, we're going to do Christmas Eve because that's our thing now. So, that it, and being able to just do that and getting all of that in, it's so freeing, right? When you can just get there and go, I really just want to spend the time with my son. and not have all of this other stress related around it. And when you just let that go, it's amazing. And as we've already talked about, it's not easy, right? It takes a lot to get there, but the faster we can work to get there, just the easier the holidays get. So, all right. Anything else that you want to add to that? I feel like I talked a lot.
I think you hit it on the head there, lady.
I think I know. Oh my God, I think I'm talking a lot. So I think
the big the takeaway message is this. I would think that how to survive the holidays means sometimes you have to get creative in how you choose to assign meaning to different things.
Yes.
And think about where you want to be in 3 years, not what you're going through at the moment.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
When you think about, in 10 years from now, when you look back and go, my kids aren't even going to know whether we did it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. They're just going to remember the time and the memories.
Oh, and I will give one fun activity that we adopted recently.
Yes.
And this is purely because of the blended family, because now I'm remarried. We have 5 children and we're blended. He came with kids. I had 2, he had 2, we have 1 together. So that's a whole conversation for a different time.
Yes.
However, because of the moving parts of everything, we said we have to create some things that are different and that are just ours. And so we started doing gingerbread decorating contests where I bought the kits and we set up tables, and everyone that was at our house to celebrate would pair them in teams, and everyone got 30 minutes to decorate. And then we had one person, actually my one friend who actually I met during my divorce, who became my tribe, who's with us often on the holidays, but not all the time. He FaceTimed in and judged. And then we had, like, I don't know, a box of Rice Krispie treats or something was the prize, but it didn't matter. It was like, I want to win. I want to be the winner. Right. And everyone loves it so much. Like, they can't stop talking about when are we going to do that again? So that's a great, like, opportunity. That's a great fun activity that you could do that others, don't always do.
Yes, amazing. Yes, coming up with those creative ways and those, like you said, the new things to create with your family and for you, things for you to look forward to. And I think to end our call in our video, that we should give some points on self-care. You talked about, of course, a little bit of treating it like an adventure, and on those days and on those holidays that maybe you are by yourself, it's not your year to have your kids, and treating it like an adventure and using that time to go do something that you've always wanted to do. But there's other ways on self-care and other tips that you can do to self-care and really, to take care of you and to help through those emotional times. And of course, one of the tips that I have is, whatever it is for you that you enjoy doing, maybe it's just taking that time and, having a hot bubble bath, or finally reading a book that you've always wanted to read, or like, I love music. So for me, I can just get lost in, a Pandora radio station for hours, or in something like that. So what tips do you have for self-care?
I would say do something you don't always get an opportunity to do. For example, if you have the extra money, go get a massage. If you don't have extra money, go for a hike or a bike ride. It didn't cost me any money when I went to the reenactment, right? I just did something outside of my comfort zone that I normally would not do alone. I also think sometimes taking care of yourself means contributing. So you could find a cause to contribute to.
Doing volunteer work is an amazing way to not only self-care and feel good about you, but like you said, contribute and give back and help with others. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So try to, either on Thanksgiving or Christmas every year, I always try to volunteer with Metropolitan Ministries and, giving out meals to those in need, which is an amazing thing to do. And you're right, it's an amazing self-care, but also it makes you feel good that you're contributing and giving back to others. So that's a great tip, and I love that one. So and then of course, knowing that you're not alone and
Mm,
reaching out to that tribe. But again, I always have to stress this from every aspect, from personal, as a coach, as a lawyer, and every aspect, that it's so important that it's the right tribe.
mhm.
It's the right tribe of people. And and knowing that you're not alone, and so many times it feels like we're alone, but we know that we're not. You've got to be able to reach out in those times when you need to reach out. And as I end every Facebook Live that I tell everybody, we'll end with our contact information. But as I tell everybody, if you don't have a tribe, I am your tribe, and I am here, and you can reach out to me. I am here for anybody who needs it. So you can find me, you can message me on Facebook Messenger, and if you need me, we will call, we will chat, we will Zoom, we will do whatever you need. I am your tribe. So Teresa, if somebody wants you in their tribe, or has questions, or needs coaching, or whatever it is, how can they reach you?
Absolutely. I'll give you my email is ttrigas, TTRIGAS. I'll type it in the chat. At Gmail, ttrigas at Gmail. And I'll put in my cell phone number, honestly. If they're clients of yours, I'm happy to talk to them anytime.
All right. I will put it in the Facebook Live as well. Trigas at. And of course, for me, if you're watching this, you're on my Facebook Live, so you know how to reach me. You know how to message me. And of course, if you're on this live, then you also know how to message Teresa, because she is tagged in this as well. So you can also DM her there. And and I am also now, I am typing her number and her email into the Facebook Live, and I will put mine in there as well. What? Okay. And you can reach me, as I said, on Facebook Messenger, or at 813-501-7721. And I'll put my email in the chat as well. And that will be down there. And again, use us. We are your tribe. We are here for you. And if you don't have anybody, we're here. But we hope that you found these tips helpful, and we hope that we've been able to help somebody that might be struggling through the holidays and going through this time. And I know, Teresa, that we have more that we could discuss, and have more tips and tricks for everything, that we could probably take up an entire day
Oh my
talking
God.
about
Yeah.
this. But we've been on for 30 minutes now. And so if you found this helpful and you'd like us to do more, then please go ahead and comment and let us know. And Teresa and I can hop on another one and give you more. And but it's been a pleasure, Teresa. Thank you for
Thank
hopping
you
on
so
and doing
much.
this with me. So,
Thank you for letting me be here with you.
of course. All right. So, all right. Then we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everybody.